At 10:17 on a Saturday morning, Daniel walked into a dealership looking for a truck payment he could handle. 3 hours later, he signed for more than $66,000. 18 months later, Daniel wanted out, but the loan would not let him leave. And his story reveals why America's pickup truck market may be approaching a serious correction. Daniel was not looking for anything extravagant. He needed something dependable for work, comfortable for his family, and capable of towing when necessary. The salesperson showed him the truck. Then he showed him the payment. Daniel barely looked at the total price. He looked at the monthly payment. And that is where this market's biggest weakness begins. Americans have not stopped wanting pickup trucks, but financing may be reaching the point where it can no longer hide what those trucks actually cost. In June 2026, the average full-size pickup sold for approximately $66,400, but Daniel brought another problem into the dealership. His old vehicles still had value, but he owed almost $7,000 more than it was worth. The dealership did not erase that debt. It simply moved the unpaid balance into his new truck loan. And Daniel is far from alone. Nearly 30% of trade-ins used toward new vehicle purchases carried negative equity. The average underwater buyer owed approximately $6,800 more than the vehicle was worth. Now, watch what happens to Daniel's deal. Truck price, approximately $66,000. Old debt added, almost $7,000. Down payment, $5,000. Loan term, 84 months. Interest rate, approximately 7%. His payment moves beyond $1,000 every month, and that's before insurance, fuel, tires, maintenance, and registration. But because the debt is stretched across 7 years, the truck still appears possible. That is the trick. A longer loan does not reduce the price, it only moves more of the pain into the future. Almost 1 out of every financed buyers is now accepting a vehicle loan lasting 84 months or longer. 7 years of payments, 7 years of interest, 7 years during which the buyer's life can completely change. But Daniel does not feel trapped when he drives home. The leather smells new. His children love the truck. The first payment has not left his account yet, and everyone at the dealership congratulates him. Then, 18 months pass. His insurance increases. Fuel consumes more of the household budget. One child needs unexpected medical treatment, and Daniel's employer begins reducing overtime. Suddenly, the payment that looked manageable is controlling every other decision his family makes. Daniel returns to the dealership and asks for something cheaper, but the loan balance is still high, and the truck's value has already fallen. The dealership gives him 3 options. Bring thousands of dollars in cash, keep the payment he no longer comfortably affords, or roll the remaining debt into another vehicle loan. None of those options solves the problem. They only decide where the problem goes next. That is how one expensive truck can create a financial cycle that becomes harder to escape every time the buyer trades. And now Daniel's personal problem becomes a market problem. Consumers still want pickup trucks, but they are increasingly moving toward less expensive models. In June 2026, sales of small and mid-sized pickups increased more than 12%. Full-size pickup sales increased only about 2.5%. Buyers are not abandoning trucks. They are quietly moving down market. And the dealership that sold Daniel his truck now has a problem of its own. When expensive full-size trucks become harder to sell, manufacturers and dealers have 3 choices: offer larger discounts, reduce production, or accept lower prices. But every discount on a new truck puts pressure on the value of recently purchased trucks. Lower values create more negative equity. More negative equity makes it harder for owners to trade. Fewer qualified buyers leave more expensive trucks sitting on dealership lots. More inventory creates pressure for even larger discounts, and the cycle repeats. That is how the pickup truck market could begin to crack. Not because Americans suddenly hate trucks, not because trucks stop being useful, but because the financing structure supporting today's prices becomes too difficult to sustain. To be clear, the entire auto market is not collapsing today. Daniel is not delinquent. Not yet. Most borrowers are still making their payments, but that does not necessarily mean they are financially comfortable. It means the system continues working as long as nothing changes. No job loss, no reduction in overtime, no medical emergency, no major home repair, and no sudden decline in truck values. A market supported by genuinely affordable prices can absorb those problems. A market supported by longer debt is far more vulnerable. So the first sign of a pickup truck correction may not be dealerships suddenly shutting down. It may look like larger rebates, rows of unsold full-size trucks, lower trade-in offers, more owners trapped in negative equity, more buyers choosing smaller pickups, and eventually reduce production. The market would not disappear. It would be forced to reprice. The pickup truck market will not crack because Americans suddenly hate trucks. It will crack when dealerships can no longer stretch the loan far enough to make the payment look affordable. Daniel thought he bought a truck. What he actually bought was 7 years of financial obligation attached to a depreciating vehicle. And millions of buyers are being asked to make the same decision. So, is the pickup truck market about to collapse? Maybe not tomorrow, but when current prices depend on buyers ignoring the total cost, the market is already revealing its weakest point. The question is no longer whether Americans want expensive trucks. The question is how much longer they can afford to keep financing them. Do you think pickup prices are heading toward a major correction, or will buyers continue accepting longer loans? Share your opinion in the comments. And subscribe to Math Invests. We do the math before the payment does the damage.